the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Morning on DC News Now is a cold start to the day, and we're also going to be noticing that cold air is sticking around for much of our Sunday, along with the winds that will make for some cold wind chills. All these details on those numbers coming up.
Also coming up this morning on DC News Now, can we forgive and forget? It is a question that dozens are asking after an apparent suicide leads to an apartment explosion and millions in damages. Today we speak with those displaced after that blast in Gaithersburg to see how they are picking up the pieces. Also, back from a timeout, how 15 million people helped decide the fate of former President Donald Trump's Twitter account. And later on, getting ahead of the rush as we step into what is bound to be the busiest travel time of this year. We've got team coverage helping you get to your Thanksgiving celebrations as smoothly as possible. But we start with a live look at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, still waking up this morning. Look at that on the screen. Coldest day of the season so far. And we bring in an unfamiliar but very welcome face here on a Sunday morning. Jackie Layer is standing by. She was so excited to get to her weather forecasting this week that she decided to come in on Sunday to get a head start. Hey, Jackie, good to see you.
Good morning, Joseph. Yes, I'm filling in for Brittany Ward this morning. Glad to be here, but sorry that I brought the cold temperatures out there. Yeah, I know. And the cold air is sticking around for much of our Sunday. Let's take a look at those current temperatures, though, before you step out the door this morning. We're currently 36 in the district, which doesn't sound too bad, considering we'll likely see those high temperatures still stuck into the 30s for much of the day today. Mid-upper 20s, though, off towards the north and west, Kaiser and Cumberland, right around 30, Martinsburg and Winchester. We also, though, have a wind, and that wind is mainly out of the west-southwest, and that's between 5 and close to 20 miles per hour. We're seeing 20 mile per hour at least sustained winds over towards Kaiser and Cumberland, about 10 mile per hour sustained winds right now in the district. We do have some wind advisories to talk about. It's mainly down towards parts of the Shenandoah Valley, right around Luray, and that's just until 11 a.m. this morning. So something to just keep in mind as you're heading out. But wind chills, it's feeling like it's just 10 degrees in Cumberland, 11 in Kaiser, feeling like it's into the 20s for much of the region. So dress for those wind chills before you step out the door on your Sunday. Watching this cold front, once it swings through, that will continue to usher in the colder air that's still situated off towards our north and west. Notice that teens and 20s off towards our north and west, while we're still into the mid to upper 30s in the district. Now, more details, looking towards the rest of that 7-day forecast coming up. Joe?
All right. Thanks so much, Jackie Layer, there to start us off in the Weather Center. Jackie, thank you. This morning, many people are still picking up pieces of their lives following last week's deadly explosion at a condominium complex in Gaithersburg. Montgomery County fire investigators announced on Friday that the blast can be traced back to Juan Pablo Marshall Quizon, a 36-year-old who died by suicide in the building. Police don't believe Quizon intended to hurt anyone during his suicide attempt, but some of the people who lost their homes are wrestling with feelings of anger. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us this Sunday morning. I am Joseph Olmo. DC News Now's Dave Laval continues our team coverage of the explosion. He spoke with one survivor to see how she and her family are recovering from the blast. Take a look.
Just more sad and hurt because nobody should be in this position.
Sequoia Royster and her 2 young sons are looking for a new place to live. They survived Wednesday's deadly explosion at the Potomac Oaks condominiums. Montgomery County fire investigators blamed 36-year-old Juan Quizon for the blast when he took his own life. Royster is also upset with him.
I just think that it's unfair that he not only did put himself in that situation, but why try to harm and hurt others.
Royster and her children, ages 9 and 3, were home when the explosion ripped through the building next to theirs.
First, the room was shaking real bad, and then next thing you know, you heard boom, and me and my son was trapped in the room.
Royster's other son found himself trapped in a bathroom. She managed to dig out everyone and escape the rubble.
It's been traumatic, and on top of that, now I have back pain and headaches for everything falling in on me and stuff.
Royster is also dealing with emotional issues from the blast. She's not the only one in her family.
They're having a hard time because they have flashbacks too, and they're still traumatized from it all.
Royster lived in her condominium for 15 years, but now she and her 2 young sons are looking for a new place to call home. In Gaithersburg, Dave Laval, DC News Now.
A tough time for so many people. Dave Laval, thanks so much. Royster told us she and her children have to move out of the Comfort Inn next Friday. That is where the Red Cross has been putting them up since the explosion. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help the family as well. Well, as we've been saying since the news of this death broke, if you or someone you know is contemplating suicide, if you're having a bad week, just having some rough thoughts, there is help available, and you should never feel scared to reach out for help. Please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's an easier number than ever before. All you have to do is dial 988.
Of God, 'cause all my life you have been faithful.
Thousands gathered, last night to remember the 3 UVA football players who were shot and killed nearly a week ago on a bus as they were pulling back into the college. The team was supposed to be playing a game last night. Instead, they attended a memorial for their lost classmates. Students, administration, even Grammy Award-winning gospel singer CeCe Winans there were in attendance. Multiple members of the UVA football team spoke on behalf of the 3 victims. Take a listen.
Everyone here is forever in y'all hearts. Lavelle, Devin, and Deshaun.
2 other students were also injured during the mass shooting, but officials say they seem to be recovering well. Well, happening this afternoon, it is a shooting that's even prompting a response from an NFL football team. The Washington Commanders will honor the 3 University of Virginia football players. The numbers 1, 15, and 41 will be on the Commanders' helmets. Those are the same numbers that the victims wore on their own field. In a statement, the team said, quote, "Our hearts are with UVA football and the UVA community affected by the tragedy." The Commanders are playing the Houston Texans at 1 o'clock. All right, turning now to the investigation into former President Donald Trump after that unprecedented FBI raid inside of his Mar-a-Lago home several months ago. The U.S. Attorney General has appointed a special counsel for the investigation, but what exactly does that mean? Essentially, this special counsel won't be reinvestigating Trump, starting new investigations, but rather taking a look at the already ongoing ones, all the evidence, and then making a decision on whether or not the former president should actually be charged with anything. Special counsels are still required to abide by the government's regulations and can be fired by the Attorney General. But the goal here is to take the decision out of the government's hands for the sake of staying impartial and unbiased. He's going to make quite a big decision. And when that comes, of course, we'll be covering it right here on DC News Now. Well, speaking of former President Donald Trump, you may now see him tweeting again. It's just the latest twist under Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk. And it's all thanks to this highly controversial poll up on your screen. Elon Musk posted this poll to his account on Friday night, asking if Trump should be allowed to come back to the social media platform. And it racked up over 15 million votes by a very thin margin there, just a couple points. You can see users voted to reinstate Trump's account. In a follow-up tweet later on, Musk wrote that the people have spoken. Trump will be reinstated. Now, as of right now, the former president hasn't sent out any new tweets. Trump, you might remember, was banned from the social media site just days after the January 6th Capitol insurrection. This is the latest ban reversal that Elon Musk has announced since taking over Twitter. All right, moving on to some better things here. We are coming up on what some call the busiest travel time of the year. Millions hitting the roads, hopping on planes, trains, cruises, as we get ready to celebrate what's probably going to be the most normal Thanksgiving we have had in over 2 years, and I don't think any of us are complaining about that. We've got team coverage this morning on your holiday travel plans, and we start with DC News Now's Katie Ree. Katie, tell us what the travel experts are saying about what we can expect over the next few days.
Good morning, Joseph. Now, we've already seen pretty congested roads here in the DMV. We know that's not any surprise here. And during the holidays, traffic goes from bad to worse. Now, according to AAA, the Thanksgiving holiday travel period is from this coming Wednesday, November 23rd, to Sunday, November 27th. Now, they're predicting over 54 million people will travel 50 miles or more from home this Thanksgiving. Now, that's up 2% from 2021. Now, nearly 49 million of those people are expected to travel by car. Now, while Thanksgiving road trips have increased slightly, car travel remains 2.5% below 2019 levels. And Americans are also ramping up to travel by other modes of transportation, like Joseph said, trains, buses, cruise ships. Now, there's also pinch points and high congested areas as you're trying to travel there. You know, we have right behind us, we have the 70 corridor coming down from Hagerstown into Frederick. That is no stranger to traffic. It's going to look pretty bad potentially, as usually, like 270, like this corridor, it's the only way really in and out of Western Maryland aside from Route 40. Now, as we're going to go down here, we're going to look at the 81 corridor right behind me. Again, same thing, one of the few routes besides local roads to get from Hagerstown down through Martinsburg and then down to Winchester. Now, looking at our next slide, which is going to be our good friend, the Beltway. There's always traffic and always congestion up here. It's not going to look very pretty and potentially could get worse as we head into that holiday weekend. Now, again, same thing, the BW Parkway, always looking like we have traffic up there, especially if you decided not to fly out of National, because you can always go up to BWI. Now, looking up at Mixing Bowl, same thing. Another pinch point where we have 3 different roads that can all convene into each other. And then finally, again, we talked about it before, airports. There's really only one way in and out of National. That's on Route 1. So again, that pinch point is there. And then the Dulles Toll Road, same thing. You've got really 1 or 2 entrances in and out of that airport. But if you don't want to travel that way, you won't get charged for driving on the Dulles Toll Road. But if you want to avoid some traffic, you can always metro to either of these airports, now including Dulles, that has that station open. In the studio, Katie Ree, DC News Now.
Oh, you know, we're very, very excited about that Dulles International Airport metro stop. Katie, thank you. So now you know what to do if you're driving. If you are flying, though, a couple of reminders for you. Here's a quick thing to keep in mind when deciding what should go on that carry-on and what should be checked. If it is a solid item, then it can go through a checkpoint. But if you can spill it, spread it, spray it, pump it, or pour it, thanks to the TSA for that iteration. We love that. Again, I'll say it. Spill it, spread it, spray it, pump it, or pour it, then it should probably go in a checked bag. And if you ever have any questions whatsoever about what can and can't you fly with, save yourself a bunch of time and download the TSA app. I have it on my phone and I use it almost every time before I travel because, as you can see there, you can type in anything like cheese and it'll tell you whether or not cheese can go on your carry-on or whether it has to go in your checked bag. The best part about it, guys, you don't have to wait on any customer service lines. You just type in what you want to bring and it tells you how to pack it.